different areas. And when I sort of talk about the distinction between what we do and what we don't do, that will give you sort of a clearer picture as to the types of skills that we will teach you about. So like I said, we have a 3-year advanced diploma, and the prerequisites for those are on our program's webpage on the college's website if you want to sort of check that out. And we also offer a 10-month fast track program. Now, in order to apply to that program, you have to already have an undergraduate degree in psychology or a related discipline. And sometimes we get lots of questions about what is a related discipline, and that is generally something that needs to be in the psychology related field, so criminology, some sociology, those fields. And there are specific coursework requirements if you don't have a degree in psychology, and those are outlined on the college's website as well. It's really important to sort of understand that you need to have a degree to get into that program, because we're basically giving those students a 3-year advanced diploma in 10 months, and so it's really important for them to have those undergraduate requirements. So sometimes I get people saying, you know, I have a diploma in SSW or early childhood, can I get into the fast track program? And the answer is no, you do have to meet those entrance requirements in order to apply. So what do we do? So we train students specifically to basically improve the lives of the clients that we work with. And we work in lots of different fields, and we'll get into those fields in just a minute. But basically what we do is we train students on how to reduce challenging behaviors in clients that we work with, or how to teach them different types of skills. So we might be working with an individual who has an intellectual disability, and they're engaging in lots of different types of interfering behaviors, maybe destructive behaviors, self-injurious behaviors, refusal behaviors, and this prohibits them from actually sort of doing what they need to do during the day to be able to meet their goals that they would like to be able to meet, and maybe it's causing trouble. A lot of times too, we also help people learn new skills. So students who end up working in brain injury, as an example, we might be training somebody on how to learn skills that they lost due to a brain injury. Or somebody who has struggled because of an addiction, or perhaps has been in the correctional system for a while, they might need to learn some skills in order to be successful in the community. So how do we do this? It really is important for people to understand what our theoretical focus is in this program. We train students specifically in what's called applied behavior analysis. And applied behavior analysis is a specific branch in psychology that is focused on how our environment shapes and forms our behavior. And so if you're at all interested in this program, I would really encourage you to do a Google search of applied behavior analysis. At the end of the presentation, I'll give you a couple of sites that you can check out as well if you want some more information about ABA. But it really is important for students to be informed about what we teach and the bulk of the content that we will be talking about when you come to the program. One thing that I would caution is that when you Google ABA, a lot of hits come up related to autism. And so sometimes people think that the only thing that ABA is used for is to work with children who have autism, and that's not true. So ABA is used in fields of mental health, in addictions, in intellectual disabilities, in brain injury, in long-term care. And so it's used across a variety of different applications, although it is very, very popular in the field of autism, and that's specifically because in Ontario, the government funds ABA programming for kids who have autism. So what is ABA? It's an applied, it's a scientific discipline. So this is a good program for people who maybe are analytical, who like to sort of figure out sort of why an individual might be doing a particular behavior that they're doing, but in a really sort of scientific way, in that we will teach you very specific types of assessments that you will use, and different ways to actually design treatment protocols to try and help reduce challenging behavior or to teach somebody a skill. And the techniques that we teach you are based on the principles of learning that have been researched, that have been proven to be effective about how behavior is shaped and how behavior is learned and how behavior is formed. And basically, we are looking to change behaviors of social significance. The goal of ABA is to improve people's lives, to make their lives better, and to reduce the challenges that they have. So behavior analysis helps us understand how behavior works. Why might somebody engage in self-injurious behavior? Why might a student continue to refuse to do work when presented with a task in a classroom? Why does somebody continue to have challenges in their employment situation? They can't get along with their coworkers. How is behavior affected by the environment? So unlike psychoanalysis, unlike other branches of psychology that kind of focus on the internal processes or the internal pieces to behavior, we kind of focus on what's happening in the environment that is causing that behavior to occur. And so as part of the program, you learn how do you do that kind of analysis? How do you come in and look at somebody's environment and pick up those pieces? And we also look at how does learning take place? How do those behaviors get part of somebody's behavioral repertoire? So the interventions that you will learn about in the program are just that. They're treatments that are used to increase language and communication skills, to improve attention, focus, social skills, memory, and academics, and basically to decrease problem behavior. So we have a rich history in the field of being very successful at helping people reduce challenging behaviors and teaching them new skills. Now, this is a really important slide because if you're familiar at all with this show, we get mistaken for being a program that will train you to be a profiler. And unfortunately, because Criminal Minds and other TV shows use the words behavioral science unit, people get attracted to our program because they think that they will come and we will train them how to be profilers or criminal profilers. And that is a completely different area of training. It's a completely different arena. That is policing. That is not psychology. And although there might be some sort of similar words that are used or processes, you cannot become a profiler by taking our course. And that is a completely different avenue that requires years and years and years of training, but in a different sort of academic pathway. So I just like to put that out there because a lot of students come, they go simply based on the title of our program, and they're not really informed. And then they come here and maybe they're a little disappointed. So it's really important for you to understand that piece. It's also important to understand that we don't train generalist counselors. And so now that we have the College of Psychotherapy, so I am both a board certified behavior analyst and a registered psychotherapist. It is important for people to understand that we don't train you to become somebody that can go out after 3 years, hang a shingle and start counseling people or working one-on-one with them. Now that there is a College of Psychotherapy, you need to be a psychotherapist to do certain specific treatments. The nice thing about our program is you can do lots in the field post-graduation that is involved in very specific ways, and we'll talk about that. So psychology, psychiatry, psychotherapy, all these other things that are listed, although we can be a stepping stone to doing these things, you can't graduate from the program and be a psychiatrist after 3 years. So what do behavior analysts do? So one of the things that they'll be putting in the chat box right now is a link to a YouTube video. I would really encourage you to look at it after the webinar or maybe at a later time and figure out what behavior analysts do. And this YouTube video does a really good job of explaining the things that you would learn if you come to the program about how to take data, how to collect information about behavior, and then what we do with that data. So we are a data-driven science. We take lots of data, we figure out what's going on, and then we make informed decisions about treatment. I'm not going to review this slide. You'll get a copy of this presentation, but I really would encourage you to take a look at the types of courses that are offered in the program, because that will give you a really good idea about the types of content that you're going to learn about. And it might help dispel some of the myths about the program and what you might or might not learn. And if you go on the college's website, if you click on each of those different courses, you'll see a course description for them, and that should sort of help with understanding of those courses. I want to talk just very briefly about field placements. One of the unique things about our program is that if you come to the diploma program, you get 4 field placement experiences. And if you come to the fast track program, you get 3, just because it's a shorter duration of a program. And this is really your opportunity to gain clinical experience, to practice the skills that you're going to learn with us in the different courses, get really great networking opportunities, get mentorship from different types of experienced supervisors in the field, and to be able to sort of practice what you've learned in the classroom and to put that into practice. And students overwhelmingly really do enjoy the field placement experience because it gives them a taste of what they will do post-graduation. Your first two placements are in an educational setting, regardless of whether you are in the fast track program or the diploma program. And that is really so you can develop some core skills before we send you into other areas that might require some other more advanced clinical skill sets. So it's not that you cannot do placements in other agency settings or community settings in your latter two placements or latter one if you're in the fast track program, but it is important to understand that your first two do take place in a school setting. So where do placements take place? Your first two will happen in a school like we talked about, but otherwise after that, they can be in group homes, client homes, different community-based settings, hospitals, correctional facilities, some daycares, or in a client's place of work. So it really just, there's a lot of variety as far as placement goes, and I think that's what students appreciate about the program. I just want to take a minute to mention one of the unique opportunities about our program. So we are part of a cluster of behavioral programs at the college. We have a graduate certificate in autism and behavioral science. We also have a degree program in behavioral psychology. But those programs, along with us, have the opportunity to develop student opportunities at what is called our Center for Behavioral Studies, and it's newly opened in the fall. We have been running previous to the fall, but we now have a physical space. You'll see the picture of it there, and this presents lots of opportunities, research opportunities for students, volunteer opportunities, good clinical experience, and we also do take placement students at this center. And you can, if you go on the college's website and you look up the Center for Behavioral Studies, you'll be able to sort of see a link to what we offer. And I did not include that as one of the links for the presenters, but I'll do that so that when you're sent your information, you can get that sort of link to the center. So there was a lot of questions when people were registering for the webinar about, where can I work? In what fields can I work? And this gets to be a little bit challenging because we don't train people to graduate to one specific title. So as an example, if you train to become a physiotherapist, you will apply to jobs that are called physiotherapy. Our graduates work in a variety of different roles. They might be called rehabilitation counselors, they might be called addiction counselors, they might be called educational assistants, student support counselors, behavior therapists, instructor therapists. It really just depends on which sector, which field they go into. So what I prefer to do is talk about the different fields that you can be employed in. And you can see that one of the nice things about our program, unlike some of the other programs in community services, is that we train you really broadly because we train you in very, very specific skill sets. So we train you basically in applied behavior analysis and some other related methodologies, like some of the cognitive-based therapies and also some of the acceptance and commitment training opportunities that are out there. And what I've kind of done is I've listed them by sort of what's most popular as far as what's being offered as far as employment opportunities currently for our students. So autism is a really big field right now as far as opportunities for employment, intellectual disabilities, education, mental health, acquired brain injury, long-term care, job training, and addictions. And it's important. I get a lot of questions about, where will I get a job? Where can I get a job? Can I get a job post graduation? We have really good success for our graduates getting jobs so long as they are willing to take a job in an area that's hiring. And because the field, fields that are under the social services umbrella are primarily funded by the government, it's really important for students to understand that opportunities for employment depend on where the funding sources are at that moment. And right now, lots of funding is going into autism, lots of funding going into intellectual disabilities. And it's not that there's not funding going into the other areas, but it is important for people to understand where they might get their start in autism, get a couple of years of clinical experience, and then get a job in mental health. And so students who are willing to be flexible, maybe start and take one, part-time or a contract job in one area, and then move to another are successful. Students who come and hold out for a full-time job in one specific area struggle to get a job in that area because people, and this is in every sector, not just in social services, people who, employers often will put out a contract, kind of see how the person is, will renew the contract a couple of times, and might offer part-time employment and then full-time employment. So, if you're worried about getting a job, there's high success rates of getting a job post-graduation, as long as you're willing to be flexible. You're willing to sort of maybe go into an area that it's not your dream job, but you're willing to use it as a stepping stone. This is an important slide because our program is an intensive program. So although it's a diploma program, it really is very demanding of students because of the type of content that we teach and because of the expectations that we have in preparation for placement. And this is the same whether it's the diploma program or the fast track program. So I will say for the fast track program, a lot of our students come, they've done an undergrad at university, they kind of think, how hard can it be? I'm coming to college. And it's important for you to understand that when you come to the fast track program, you're taking a combination of second and third year coursework. And so you are in class, sitting in a seat 35 hours a week. So it's extremely demanding. It's very intense. For the diploma program, you're in class less hours because you're taking it over 3 years. So about 19 to 20 hours a week. But you need to ask yourselves these questions, especially whether you are, have good analytical skills. Do you have strong writing and communication skills? Can you be flexible? Do you like to work with others? We do have lots of group work. So if you are somebody who does not like group work, we're probably not a good match for you because we will force you to work with other people because in the field you'll have to do that. Do you value constructive feedback? We see this program as a mentoring program. We see it as kind of a 3-year job training where we're trying to help you be the best behavior therapist that you can be. And so you have to be open to that. And you really do have to be psychologically and emotionally healthy to be in this program. We talk about a lot of sensitive topics. We talk about a lot of issues. In order to be prepared to work in a variety of fields, you have to be comfortable about talking about very sensitive subjects. And you have to be able to be well enough to be able to manage both the workload and also the content that we're going to talk about. So these sites we're going to put up in the chat box. This is just a couple of sites about applied behavior analysis that might give you an idea. You can also do a quick Google search if you want, if you'd prefer. Like I said, just try and sift through all of the focus on autism, but that will give you an idea as to the types of things that we will talk about once you come to the program. And so I think what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be moving to the Q&A portion. And I think, does somebody want to do a little explanation of that first?
I will.
Okay.
Thank you, Kim. That was a terrific presentation. And yes, so we're going to switch over. We're going to ask you, all the invitees out there, to switch over to the Q&A section on the bottom. Hopefully you can see that. We will respond to the questions audibly. The Q&A section, oops, sorry, we're just trying to, sorry, the Q&A will not be seen. So if you type your questions in, it is confidential, but we will announce the question and answer it. So that's the way that'll work. And we have probably about another 20 minutes or 10 or 20 minutes for that. So please go ahead and ask your questions and we'll have Kim answer them for us. Thanks, Kim.
All right, no problem. Okay, so I'm going to answer a couple of questions are popping up, and so this is good. So the first question is, how many people get into the program? And really, we have, last year I think was the first year that we met sort of our cap. Our cap is 65, and we ended up having 70 in first year. So we haven't been oversubscribed in a couple years, which means that it's good. You have a really good chance of getting into the program. I would say, however, that you really do need to apply by February 1st because that's the equal consideration deadline. And if you apply after that and we happen to have too many people to fill the program, then what happens is you get rank ordered based on your grades, and it's based on those prerequisite courses that are listed on the website. So the other question is, I was told it's very competitive. I don't know if you mean competitive to get into the program. I don't know that it's competitive to get into the program just because we haven't been oversubscribed for a couple of years. It may be that what you've heard is that it's a really intensive program, and it requires it requires a certain skill set, and I would say it is, but I don't want that to scare people. So by intensive, I just mean that you have to be willing to attend class. You have to be willing to hand in assignments. You have to be willing to do your tests. And so if you're willing to do those things, then it's really easy to be successful in our program. The students that struggle are the ones who don't attend class, who don't submit assignments, who don't study, who don't seek out extra help, who don't participate in class. So I think as long as you're willing to come and sort of put in the work, it's really easy to be successful in this program. I was asked to sort of talk about where there are currently a good number of jobs right now. And so, yeah, a good number of jobs are in autism, intellectual disabilities, some funding in mental health. I would say there's still some jobs in education, but of course in Ontario, we just had the recent sort of cut in special ed funding. The government cut funding there. But I don't know sort of what the impacts will be of that as far as the job prospects go. A lot of our students come and they're really interested in corrections, and I would say, unfortunately, at this point, there's not a lot of jobs in corrections, and it doesn't mean that in a couple of years the government wouldn't be funding more programs. It really depends on what the government decides to fund. And so recently, well, in the last couple of years, we had the closure of Kingston Penitentiary and some changes to how the programming side of the house works in Correctional Service Canada. And so if you're like, I'm only, I want to come here and I'm only going to work in corrections, you might be waiting for a while, but you might get a job in mental health. You might get a job in a community-based agency like John Howard or Elizabeth Fry, which help people who have been incarcerated and who are trying to change their life. So there's other ways to sort of work with that type of client population. So if you have a degree in a related, so the question is asking about a particular type of degree and but not having specific coursework for some high school credit. So I guess it depends on which program you're applying to. So if you're going to apply to the 3-year diploma program, even though you have a degree, because you'd like to do the 3 years, you have to meet those admission requirements. So when they require very specific courses from high school, you do have to have those. And so if you don't have those, you would have to get those before you could apply. If you're thinking of applying to the fast track program with your degree would have to be related to psychology, and you would have to also have an abnormal psychology course. So those requirements are listed on the website as well. So I would say, regardless of which program you're applying to, and we do have actually some students who come to us, they have a degree already, but they do want to do the 3 years. They like the complement of courses that are there, and they want to be able to take that, and they don't want to do the 10 months because it's a very intensive program. If you're taking the fast track program, you can't work and have a part-time job because you're just in class too much. And so some people choose to do the 3 years. But regardless, you do have to meet those requirements for both of those. So it's not like I have one of these credits, but I don't, can I apply? And that's because that's determined through the Ontario College's website and through the registrar's office. So that's not something that we sort of have control over at the program level. So I don't see, I'll just wait if there's any other questions that come up. Scroll. Oh, there should be a scroll. Oh, sorry. Maybe oh, sorry. Okay, thank you. Sorry, look at all of these. Oh my God. Okay. Do you know on average how many students a study day? That's a great question. I went to open house. One of the gentlemen said he studies between 1 to 2 hours a day, so he doesn't get behind. So I would say that basically for every hour that you're in class, you probably need to add an hour of studying or coursework, but it's going to fluctuate, right? Depending on what's due that week. So there might be some weeks that are a little bit more intense. So in the diploma program, you are in class about an average of 19 hours a week. And so you need to be carving out time to study and do that. I would say too, just when you're kind of considering this, some people ask, can I work part-time? In the diploma program, you can work part-time, but it's generally recommended that you don't work more than 10 to 15 hours a week. Some people come and try and work 35 hours a week plus do our program, and they're generally not successful, just because of, like you said, there is a need to have some study hours. And so I would agree. I would say that maybe there's going to be some days where you're going to have to study a little bit more depending on what's coming up. Talking about some memorable alumni. So we have lots of we have a rich history of students working out in the field and what they can do with their behavioral science diploma. And all of the full-time faculty, so there's 3 full-time faculty in the program, myself and Janet Ritchie and Katrina McDonald, we're actually all graduates of the behavioral science program. So both Janet and I took the diploma program. When I went on and did my degree, did my master's. Katrina did the fast track program, so she did it the other way around. So I think we're pretty successful alumni in the program, and we've worked in a variety of fields. I have graduates working all over. I have them working at CAMH in Toronto. I have lots of graduates working in corrections across all the different institutions because we've been around for so long. Graduates working at Ongwanada. If you're not familiar with Kingston, these names probably won't make much sense, but we've had graduates go on to work in really great roles. I've got graduates, the behavior therapist over at our mental health, one of our mental health hospitals here is a graduate of our program. And we have lots of graduates that are in our autism program here in Kingston, which is run out of Maltby Center. So we have lots of great alumni who have worked lots in education. We have a ton who work as educational assistants or student support counselors. And so if you stick around in Kingston and you go to any of these agencies like addiction and mental health, Ongwanada, community living, education, Hotel Do, KGH, you will see lots of our graduates working there. We have an articulation agreement with Carleton University, meaning that if you do our diploma program, you can go on and do a degree if you don't have a degree, and lots of our students actually go on and get their degree, and I actually encourage that. I encourage people to go on and do their degree. I also encourage people who are really keenly interested in this field to do their master's so they can become a board certified behavior analyst. Some people go on and do their master's to go on that avenue, and some people like the psychoanalysis version more and maybe go on and get their master's and become a psychotherapist and do what they need to for that. We have a new articulation agreement with, I believe it's St. Paul University in Ottawa. I don't know that off the top of my head, but I think it's that. And that's actually a really good deal because I believe you get almost 2 years for your 3-year. Most places will give you the equivalent of 1 year. So great articulation agreements there. Early acceptance, I don't know the answer to that question because I think that's a registrar question. I don't know if either of the 2 ladies in the room with me know the answer to that question. I don't think there's early acceptance, but maybe. I don't know. I don't know how that works. So that would be a question that maybe we can get an answer to for you and sort of include that when we send this out.
I think Sean's typing in the chat box.
Oh, okay. So I might get an answer in just a minute.
He's talking about the articulation program right now. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Sean. Where can someone get an abnormal psych course if you don't have it? So if you do have a degree, so this is for the fast track program only. So if you come to the diploma program, you're going to take an abnormal psychology course in 2nd year. So you don't need to worry about that. But if you are applying to the degree program, you don't have a degree in psychology. Every degree in psychology, you have to take an abnormal psych course. That's part of the sort of standard protocol. But if you're applying with, say, a degree in criminology, and you didn't take an abnormal psychology course, you could probably pick that up, I know, through Ontario Learn, and there's information about part-time studies on our college's website, but really you can pick it up at any university, any of the other colleges, and then you would just apply for a transfer credit for that. That would have to be completed, though, prior to being accepted into the program. And there are no early acceptances to this program. Thank you. I just got a note about that. Right. Are there any other questions? I'm trying to think about maybe some helpful information. I'm trying to think of some things that our students are all in classes, so they weren't able to join me. But I think you know, the feedback that we get from students are things like they really enjoy the program. They, you know, when I talk to graduates out in the field, so I actually just got an email this morning from one of our graduates who's working at CHEO, Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario. He's working in their autism program, and he's now going on to apply for graduate school. And, you know, he was saying, he was reflecting on his time in the program and saying how the program really did a great job of providing a good foundation for the types of jobs that our graduates go into. And so I think, you know, we're a really good training opportunity. We build really great skills in our students. Most community partners, community agencies are very eager to get our students because of the quality, and that's kind of the payoff, right? We ask our students to put in a lot of hard work, but then that pays off because the sites request our students for placement, and they will often, they're often attracted to the designation when they're looking and trying to decide between different applicants for a job. And so the program does come with a really good reputation, which is something good for jobs. Are people welcome to come and sit in on a class? I have had people do that, and that's usually, I think, you can organize that through recruiting. If you email them at dreamit@sl.on.ca, generally they'll contact me. I will give sort of the schedule or tell a class that might be a good thing to come and sit in on so that you can kind of figure out whether it's content that you're interested in. And so that has happened in the past, and we'd be open to that. So you mentioned this is a very analytical program, but is it also hands-on, or is there more so-and-field placements? So no, great question. So there's lots of hands-on activities that we do in class. So as an example, last semester I taught a course in functional behavioral assessment. So I teach about what those assessments are, but then in class we practice how to do them. So before you kind of go out and do those with live clients, we practice how to do those. How do you collect baseline data? There's lots of practice. We have a course called Behavioral Counseling Skills, Theory, and Practice, and in that you practice the skills with your fellow students that you're learning about in there. So by analytical, what I mean is that you kind of have to be the type of person that you know, that enjoys figuring out the solution to a problem, to try and do an analysis of why somebody's doing something by getting actual concrete data or information from the client. So as opposed to sort of more of a traditionally psychoanalytic view, where if you were coming to me as a client and you were talking about some of the addictions issues you were having, instead of me sitting there and talking to you hours and hours and hours about your childhood, or talking about your feelings or what you think about that, a behavior analyst would take some data, would ask some questions, would do an analysis to figure out, why do you continue to struggle with your addiction issues? What is it that's occurring in your environment? What behaviors are you engaging in that contribute to your continued use of a substance that you want to stop? And then you kind of analyze that data, and then you come up with a treatment protocol based on that. So it's really a scientific model, right? It's very typical to what you would do in high school. You kind of like have a problem, you sort of hypothesize what the reason is for the problem. You put that intervention into place, and then you continue to take data. So you learn how to take data, how to graph data. There's a statistics course, there's a research methods course, and so that's really kind of what I mean by analytical. So hopefully that helps a little bit. I think we have a couple more minutes. So I have on my clock that it's 10:37. Yeah, but we've been going for a little bit longer. I think that's
so.
Because I thought I had, yeah.
Let me jump in here,
yep.
Kim. I think it's been such great questions and feedback today. Thank you, everybody, for offering up your questions. I just wanted to let you know that if you don't have all your questions, and perhaps you will think of some more as soon as we hang up the line, which typically happens, we will be sending out a reminder email or a follow-up email to sort of give you an idea of all of the program presentation, as well as the links that were in the program, and we'll follow up with an FAQ session. Kim is also available through email, and we will include that to contact information as well as our recruiting team if you have any additional questions. One little additional tip in there, if you'd like, we welcome you to come on into the college and take a tour. It's a great way to sort of see the facility, meet some of the teachers, possibly meet some of the students, and that's available anytime. There's a link on our website where you can go ahead and do that. And the other option is we are having a spring open house on Saturday, April 6th, and of course we invite you to come and attend at that point in time. It'll be a great opportunity to meet not only Kim, but some of the other instructors that are available. And like I said, it really may be the clincher to help you to make your decision. So if there aren't any other questions, we'll just double check here. And if there aren't any other questions, perhaps what we'll do is we'll stay on here for a couple more minutes and we'll finish up. And then, like I said, we will close it out and we will follow up with an email with all the details that you need. And we invite you to get in touch with us in any number of different ways to see how we can help you make your decision. So thank you again, Kim. I think it's been a really great session. And to you again, the attendees, great questions. And thank you for participating. Do you think we're pretty much set?
I think we're set. Let's go on mute for a few minutes,
Okay.
and then we'll stick around, and then we'll sign off in about 5.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, thanks.